Okay, so this is Renuka Reggae, and I'm here from Rice University with the Houston Asian American Archive Project in Razor Hall at Rice, and we're here with Mr. Glenn Yoshiaki Gundam.
Yes.
Okay, so I guess we can start with a little bit of your background. You're of Japanese origin. So and you were born in the U.S., so were your parents also born in the U.S.?
Yes, they were. My mother was born in Honolulu, Hawaii. My father was born in Seattle, Washington.
So how did your family come to live in the U.S.?
My grandfather came from Japan in the early 1900s, 1898, I believe it was, for economic reasons, for jobs. And then my father was, like I mentioned, was born in Seattle, Washington. My mother was born in Honolulu, Hawaii. And I was born in Los Angeles.
Okay.
I'm a third generation Japanese American.
Yeah.
Yes.
So your family's been here for a long time.
Mm-hmm.
So during World War II, what did your parents experience?
Well, they were in turn as Americans, as Japanese descent, in a camp in Colorado for about 3.5 years.
Okay.
And it was a very tragedy for them because they were only allowed to carry 2 suitcases and get on a train to Colorado. And so they were leasing a farm in Stockton, California, and the bank took over it. And so they lost everything, and they were broke.
And this was before you were born?
Fortunately, yes. I was born in 1948.
Were you the oldest child?
I'm the youngest.
Oh, you're the youngest. So your siblings they also experienced that?
No, they were born right after.
Okay.
I was born in 48. I have 2 older brothers. One was born in 46 and one in 47.
Okay. So, once your parents were able to leave the camp, they went to California?
Yes, they went to Los Angeles and started a Chinese restaurant and didn't make it. And so they moved up to a small agriculture area in Monterey Bay area, a city called Watsonville, and they were in the Bracero program, if you know what that is. They had a contract with the Mexican government to bring Mexican nationals to pick the strawberries and vegetables in Salinas Valley. And so they started with maybe 20 of them, and it was the Gonda Labor Camp 1. And then my mother was a very good businesswoman when she opened Gonda Labor Camp 2, and we had 1,500 nationals, and we housed them and fed them. And took them. We had 15 trucks and took them out to the fields to pick the berries and lettuce and cherries. And I would go out there and bring them hot lunches and feed them. And then we'd come back and we would feed them dinner at the mess hall. It's like a regular army camp.
Oh wow!
Yeah, back in the 50s. You know.
Okay. So that's primarily what your parents were involved in while you were growing up?
In California, yes.
In California, okay. So, tell me a little bit about your childhood.
Well, growing up in Watsonville, California was a lot of fun because it was like living out in the country. I think the population in Watsonville was only about 12,000 in those days, and we're only 5 miles away from the beach. And only a mile away from the mountains. So it was in a valley called Pajaro Valley. And so it's as I mentioned, an agriculture area, so it's very beautiful.
Yeah, it must have been.
And so I had a horse, so be able to go riding horses and camping out and hunting and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So it was really a great childhood.
Well...
Just a little insight, I'm married, but I met my wife in the 5th grade when we were 10 years old.
Really?
Yes.
That's when you first met her?
Yes, she was real cute.
Oh, that's amazing.
Yes.
Did you guys keep in touch throughout your life?
Yes, mainly after high school.
Okay.
But we've been married 37 years.
Wow.
But since I'm 62, I've known her over half a century. So,
oh my gosh. So, childhood sweetheart?
That's correct.
Yeah. That's amazing. So you described, you mentioned that you have 2 older brothers.
Yes.
And did you and your brothers experience any kind of discrimination growing up in
That's
Alaska?
why, not really, not in Watsonville, California,
Okay.
because there was not a large population, but maybe 3,000, 2,000 Japanese Americans living in Watsonville. Most of them were in the farming industry. And so we had like 2 Japanese churches in Watsonville. In a small town of 12,000, that's a lot. And so I never felt any kind of prejudice in those days.
Okay.
Growing up in grammar school or through high school.
Okay, so you were in a good location.
Yes, a very liberal place.
Yeah, definitely still is. So, did your parents, while they were raising you, did they incorporate Japanese culture, or were they more? I mean, I guess they were born in America, so were they just completely Americanized by then?
My mother and father spoke better Japanese than they did English.
Okay.
But speaking of their internment during the war, they never mentioned it to me.
No.
They wanted me to assimilate in America, speak English, have American friends, and they never criticized the United States government for their internment.
Mm-hmm.
And after I grew older and learned of what happened, of course, I had sad feelings for them that they went through that. But they never complained about that.
So do you speak Japanese?
No, unfortunately, I know my numbers,
Okay.
but and I love Japanese food.
Yeah.
But I do know the culture quite a bit.
Okay.
And the protocol.
Okay. So you did have aspects of that.
Yes.
Okay.
And my mother and father were Buddhists. I'm a Christian.
So you became Christian later on then?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. I guess my peer pressure when you're little, from your friends and everybody.
Yeah. I mean, yeah. I remember when I was little, everyone wondering, because I'm not Christian, so, are you? What are you?
Right.
You know.
Right.
Yeah. Okay. So you mentioned your parents were in farming.
Labor camp business.
Labor camp business
Yes.
for the people who were
Right.
involved in picking.
Yeah.
Okay. So what would you say was your economic status? Were you pretty comfortable as growing up?
Yes. Well, at the beginning, of course, my mother and father struggled very.
They started from scratch.
Started from scratch and then built their way up several years later.
Mm-hmm.
But I guess when I was in high school, I guess it would be middle class.
Okay. So.
And growing.
Yeah. So they were good businessmen too.
Oh, yes, they were. Yes, they were. They instilled a lot of discipline on me.
Yeah. Did you get some of your business skills from your parents?
Oh, I would think so. Absolutely. Definitely.
You probably just soaked it in without even realizing.
I guess so, but let me just say this. They work much harder than I did.
Okay. Yeah. I always feel that way about my parents too.
Yeah.
Okay, I saw on your form, this is, as a child you said you worked for your parents.
Yes, I did all these odd jobs at the labor camp. We had to make, I think it was 15,000 tortillas a day. Yes, and so I helped count the tortillas. I think it was 7 tortillas in one batch, and we pick it up and fold it and put it in the tray, and we did that for dinner time and stuff like that. And I would have to. One of the things I enjoyed, we had 15 trucks to deliver the braceros to the fields, but we had to fill the trucks up with gasoline. That was my responsibility.
Okay.
But I had fun because I think I was only 12 or 14 driving these trucks to the gas. We had our own gasoline pump.
Oh, okay.
And so I would fill it up and park the trucks and stuff, little errands like that.
Yeah. So did your family cook the tortillas and all the food?
No, they hired Mexican chefs.
Okay.
Yes. It's 1,500 braceros. So
Yeah. Yeah, that's
breakfast,
a lot to
lunch,
cook.
and dinner.
Well, that's a lot to cook.
Yes.
And you mentioned how much you were paid. Did your parents pay you minimum wage?
I think in those days, was it $1.25? I think it was an hour.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Did you want to work, or was it something that you just did as part of the family?
I think a little of both, but I was probably kind of spoiled. But like we had a community store called a canteen, and I would be able to sell the candy and soda pops, and I got paid for that.
Yeah.
But I think I ate most of the profits, though.
What did you do with your little money that you would make?
Buy more candy and
What
soda.
Oh, you would buy and sell, so you'd invest it.
Well.
But you didn't just eat the candy.
Yeah, I ate a lot of candy, though.
You probably ate a bunch of it too.
But I, of course, doing school sports and Little League, baseball, basketball, Cub Scouts, Boy Scouts, all the things that teenage boys get and do.
Mm-hmm. So you had a pretty active childhood.
Yes,
Yeah.
but in the country there was no crime or no drugs or nothing that I saw.
Well, that's a good place to grow up then.
In the 50s, though.
It was.
People were innocent in those days.
Yeah. So how long did you continue to help out your parents?
My goodness. There was a season for the crops, so it was usually from, I think, April to November. And the summertime was the busiest, and so they had to close the camp in 61, I think, because Governor Brown passed a law not to bring in nationals to pick the crops anymore. And so my mother and father had to set up a labor camp, and they knew the president of Japan Food Corporation in San Francisco, and he recommended to open up a Japanese restaurant in Dallas, Texas. And the reason is
I'm sorry, who recommended?
The president of Japan Food Corporation of San Francisco.
Oh, okay.
Because they were opening a warehouse in Dallas to distribute Japanese spice in the Southwest.
Oh.
And they recommended for my father and mother to open a Japanese restaurant to help supplement the warehouse. And so that was back in 62. Unfortunately, President Kennedy got shot during that time, in that year. But we opened the restaurant, and I used to work in that restaurant. I was a darn good dishwasher and busboy.
I bet. So you all moved to Dallas
Yes.
in about 62?
Yes, 62.
Okay.
Yes. And I worked at the restaurant at minimum wage.
Yeah.
I think I was 14 or 15 years old,
Okay.
something like that, when we moved to Dallas.
Okay.
And worked in the restaurant business.
So did you finish your high school there in Dallas?
I went to my junior year there,
Okay.
but then I begged my mother and father, please let me graduate from Watsonville High. I went back because as a teenager, you miss your friends so much.
For sure.
And so they sent me out to California to live with my best friend out there. And I lived at their house and finished graduation there.
Okay. And what did you do after you graduated high school?
I went to college, North Texas State University in Denton, Texas. That's right above Dallas.
So you moved to near your parents, that area?
Right. It's about 50 miles north of Dallas.
Oh, okay.
North Texas State.
Okay.
In those days, now it's called University of North Texas, I think it's called now.
Yeah, they changed the wording around.
Yeah.
Yeah. So did you choose to go to that place because it was close to Dallas?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Yes,
Okay.
absolutely.
And how did you decide what to study?
How did I decide? I guess economics. I studied economics. So, but I didn't graduate.
Okay.
Okay, so I've been to many schools, and I loved California, so I went back out to California, and I went to junior colleges there. I went to UCLA summer school and USC summer school, and my wife went to Long Beach State, so that's my girlfriend then went to Long Beach State, and so that's why I wanted to go down to Los Angeles.
Okay, so you did a couple of years at North Texas?
1 year.
Or 1 year.
1
okay,
year.
and then you were like, I miss California too much.
Yeah, and my girlfriend.
And her, of course.
Right.
So you guys were dating in high school? then?
After high school.
Right after.
Right after
okay.
high school. Right.
So you wanted to go back to be with her, and then how long did you spend there?
About 4 years, I think.
Okay.
I have relatives out in Los Angeles,
Okay.
and My mother and father were very generous to me and gave me an allowance. And,
so you took classes at various or colleges.
Yeah,
okay.
Right. I was a bad student.
Okay. So, well, when did you guys get married?
We got married in 1973. I graduated high school in 66.
Okay.
And so between those years, did we get married in 73. 37 years. Yeah.
Was that in Los Angeles? Or?
The marriage?
Mm-hmm.
No, we got married in Watsonville.
Okay.
At my wife's church in Watsonville.
Okay. So how about after the period in LA? What happened?
Let's see. What did I do? I went to Miami because we opened a restaurant there.
In Miami?
In Miami.
Oh, okay.
And so I helped my mother and father. One of their general managers, a lady, I helped her with the opening of the restaurant and worked there for about a year, I think, in Miami. And I asked Kathy to come. Mm-hmm. We weren't married yet.
Oh, okay.
But she came, and she helped me at the restaurant, too. And that was for 1 year. Mm-hmm. And then she says, well, and then we have a restaurant in Oklahoma City. My mom and dad wanted me to go to Oklahoma City to run that restaurant. And so I asked Kathy to come. She said, no, unless we get married. I said, okay. So I think we only stayed 6 months in California. And then we decided to get married. And then my best friend offered me a job out in California.
Okay, wait, let's back up. So your parents opened restaurants first one was in Dallas, then in Miami, then Oklahoma City.
Well, let me see. Dallas, Houston, Miami, Oklahoma City, and Bryan, Texas.
And during that time, they still lived in Dallas?
They lived in Miami and Dallas and Houston. They had houses.
Oh, they had separate houses.
Yeah, right.
And they would travel between them.
Yes, but they liked Miami because the weather.
Oh, of course.
And my mom and dad loved horse racing, and so they had a lot of horse race tracks over in Miami.
So while they were, who else would run the restaurant while they were
managers?
Okay.
Managers, and my sister opened a Japanese restaurant in San Antonio.
Okay.
The first one in San Antonio and one in Austin. Mm-hmm. She had three Japanese restaurants, and two in Austin and one in San Antonio.
So was this all
back in the 70s?
Early 70s.
Early
yeah,
70s.
That's what I was about to ask.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. And so then, you helped out with managing these restaurants for a while.
Until my wife wanted to get married,
right.
And my best friend offered me a job out there in the food business.
In Los Angeles?
No, in Watsonville. Okay. He was one of the had a factory of frozen vegetables.
Okay.
And I worked for him for a while, and then I was a frozen food broker in San Jose, California. Had an office there too. And then my mom, my dad, and my older brother, they started doing the jewelry business. Opals out of Mexico and opals out of Australia and shipped it to Japan. And then my brother got a certificate for it's called GIA a gem certificate of some kind, and they opened an office in New York and started buying diamonds. And then my father came out to San Francisco or San Jose and wanted me to get in the diamond business with my brother. So
when did your dad and your brothers first get into the diamond business?
Or 73, 74, 75 maybe.
Okay, so you only worked for your friend and the frozen food business
About 2 years.
For 2 years.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay.
And then my dad wanted me to come in the diamond business up in New York.
Did you decide to do that?
I did that. And of course, Kathy and I were married by then. And
yeah.
So she came up with me to New York. Mm-hmm. And we were in the diamond business for 8 years.
Oh, wow.
And we traveled to Israel to buy diamonds, and New York to buy diamonds, Antwerp, and we shipped it to Japan. We had clients in Japan. because Japan, the economy was just really growing. And so I did that until the 80s. The 80s? Something like that. My memory is not so good.
It's okay.
And so I was a member of the New York Diamond Dealers Club. I was the first Japanese American. My brother and I were the first in New York on 47th Street and 5th Avenue.
Oh, wow.
And so it was an exciting time.
Yeah, I bet. You got to travel a lot.
Yes, we did. Yes, we did. Yes. And then my wife enjoyed, because we didn't have a kid yet.
Right.
So being single and living in New York City is a lot of fun.
Yeah.
But then after that, my mother wanted me to come to Houston to run the restaurant, the Houston restaurant business. So I came back here to Houston, I think it was 84. I came back to Houston. But throughout the summer and everything, I always come to Houston.
Okay.
I always worked or did something, come to here or something, spend a month or something like that.
Okay. So how come Houston was your home base, kind of?
It was the biggest restaurant.
Oh, okay.
Our restaurant, we could seat 300 people.
Wow.
Yeah.
Where did you say it was?
That's on Westheimer, right inside the Loop. Do you know where the I forgot the what's that restaurant right there on the corner of 610 and Westheimer, inside the Loop? Well, anyway, we had 2 acres there.
Okay.
Yeah, they bought the land.
I see.
In the early days, and so I would always come to Houston.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so then eventually, finally.
So I had a lot of Houston friends there. Yeah.
So eventually, finally, that was where you settled down.
Right.
Okay.
And then my son was born in 85.
Okay.
In 85.
Okay.
And I became general manager of the restaurant.
Yeah, so that was in 85.
85.
So, tell me a little bit about that job. What you had to do, what was involved.
Wow. Wow. Of course, we had, I think, 40 employees.
Okay.
I think to run that operation. It was lunch 5 days a week, dinner 7 nights a week, no holidays. But it was fun because I'm an extrovert.
Yeah.
And so I love talking to people and meeting customers and servicing them, and sushi became just started to. My mother and father opened the first sushi bar in Texas.
Oh yeah.
Yes, and the one in Houston was only when they first did that. It was only a 4-seater. It was for the Japanese consulate and some Japanese companies. But Texas came by. They looked at sushi. They didn't know what it was. They didn't want to touch it. The sushi bar, I think, was 71.
Okay.
Yeah, 71. But then when I was there in 85, a lot of artists that would come to Houston to perform would come to my restaurant. Famous artists, and a lot of the musicians loved sushi in those days.
Really?
Yes, artists and movie stars and stuff like that. So they come to our restaurant to eat sushi. And then I started knocking on hotels and the Astrodome to sell sushi. And I did catering business. I started the catering business.
When did you start doing sushi and catering?
Probably 87.
Okay.
Yeah, the Westin Galleria Hotel was my first
really?
account. This is right next door.
Yeah.
It was right next door. And so I just talked to the chef and say, just Tokyo Gardens down the street. They knew Tokyo Gardens. I said, well, the California rolls are very edible. And avocado and crab meat and cucumber. It's very nutritious, high in protein, low in fats. I believe, some of your fine clienteles would like this. And so they ordered maybe just one tray or something like that. Then as things go on, they started ordering more, and then I went to other hotels. And then I started doing a live sushi bar
Oh.
in those days.
What do you mean live sushi bar?
I had an actual chef there with a portable sushi bar, and a hostess, a girl dressed in a kimono, Japanese kimono, helped serve the sushi customers for weddings or birthday parties or.
So you go to their occasion
Yes,
and do that.
right.
Oh, that's so
And then the Japanese companies, during their Christmas, they would order a live sushi bar, and they would have like 300, 400, 500 people.
when they were in Houston having events.
Right.
Oh, okay.
Right. There's about 90 Japanese companies here in Houston.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. A lot of them in the energy industry, or gas, or pipe. And so I just started knocking on doors, and in the old days we didn't have a computer, or internet, but we had a fax machine.
Yeah.
And so I would fax all these Japanese companies some of the prices and stuff like that, and lunch specials, all kinds of stuff for the fax machine. I remember that. And it worked. It worked. And so then I worked with famous caterers like Jackson Hicks here in Houston. I don't know if you know Jackson Hicks. Okay, well, I started working with a lot of the caterers here in town. And I did sushi at the Astrodome. And then just kind of spread around. People knew about that I was in the sushi business.
Yeah, so a little word of mouth later on.
Yes,
Yeah.
networking. I did a lot of networking. I tried to meet as many people as I could.
Yeah.
Try to remember. I used to had a good memory, remember everybody's name, but it's lacking now. But and that's how I started the catering business.
Okay. So you noticed that, so the demand just slowly grew over time.
Yes, it's just phenomenal because just watching it grow like
Yeah, I
that.
bet. Because now sushi is so popular.
It's not like a foreign food anymore.
Yeah.
So I capitalized on that.
Yeah, and initially the clientele was just pretty elite, right?
Yeah, very elite intellectuals.
How would you say that has evolved?
Well,
Has it even?
how did it evolve? I think it's because of the Hollywood. I would think if you look at MTV, about 10 years ago, they started talking about sushi. I mean, the artists would, and then the music, and then if you just MTV got the young kids more interested in sushi, and I think what really helped was the health factor of sushi.
Oh.
So when people got very conscious about eating healthy foods, well, sushi is right up there.
Not fried or anything.
Low in fats, high in protein, and so people started eating sushi. So.
How would you say your parents' other restaurants fared?
Yeah, they fared real well, but they sold them. We sold them all, and I kept the one here in Houston.
Focused on Houston.
Focus on Houston.
Okay.
And then I sold Tokyo Gardens here in Houston. I think it was 1998,
Okay.
and I got the contract for Continental Airlines, and I did the Houston to Tokyo flight.
Oh,
And I
okay.
do the Japanese food for that. I still do that. We just celebrated our 12th anniversary.
Wow.
Yeah, so I do Japanese food
Uh-huh.
in first class, and appetizers and sushi too, and Japanese food.
How did you decide to sell the restaurant and focus more on this other?
Well, the land was was becoming very valuable in the Galleria inside the Loop at 610, and the restaurant was already 30-something years old or 40 years old or something like that. And my mother was 85 or something. My dad was 85. He passed away, and so my mother wanted to get out of the business.
Okay, so it had done well, and it was
Right.
time to move on.
And the land was we had 2 acres of land in the Galleria.
So I bet that was a good deal for you.
It was, well, for my mom and dad.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So they deserve everything.
Yeah.
So, but anyway, I capitalized on having a unique type of business, a sushi business, or Japanese food, because of the popularity. And then, like I said, I sold the restaurant, and then I got the contract with Continental Airlines, and so I stood and continued my catering business, live sushi bars and stuff like that. And then I think 3 years later, I forgot to tell you, I also did the first sushi bar in a supermarket when I was at Tokyo Gardens.
I heard about that.
It was in Fiesta supermarkets.
Oh, okay.
Yes, back in the 80s. 86, I think, 87. I forgot about that. I had, I think we had 7 with the Fiesta.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, live sushi bars inside. But it didn't do too well.
What was the demand for sushi like in Fiesta?
Yeah, well, they were trying to penetrate the non-Hispanic demographics.
Okay.
They opened this big store in Clear Lake. It's not there anymore.
Yeah.
But and they tried, but they had a tough time.
Yeah.
And then I kept the one on Blaylock. There was a Blaylock line 10 Fiesta. I kept that one, and then HEB came around to Houston, and I knew the president of HEB here in Houston, Marginato. And then I'm at a Christmas party, and he asked me what I did. I said, I'm in the sushi business.
So you did network for sure.
And then a week later, he invited me to a gala, and my wife and I, and he says, we're opening a sushi bar in Friendswood in HEB supermarket. Would you like to do that? And I said, sure. And so they sent one of the we belonged to the seafood department, and the director of the seafood department came down to interview me.
Okay.
And so we went to Starbucks.
Okay.
And he talked to me for about an hour. He stood up, shook my hand, said, Glenn, I want you to do it. And so we opened, that was in 2002.
Okay.
In Friendswood.
Okay.
And we broke a sales record the first week we opened. I think we did 20,000 or something like that.
So that was the first one in an HEB?
Yeah.
Okay. Wow.
And the second one, we broke sales records again. And then third one, again, it kept on. I mean, it was just phenomenal.
So you finally targeted the right demographic.
And I remember we opened one in South Texas, and I was apprehensive. It was in McAllen, Texas.
Okay.
And I thought, well, I don't know if the demographics call for sushi down in McAllen, South Texas. But I said, okay, I'll try. If I don't try, I'll never know. Mm-hmm. Broke sales record again. I mean, it was just unbelievable.
Wow.
Yeah. Honestly, it was just phenomenal. And so now I have 153 sushi bars all over Texas.
Wow. That's awesome.
Isn't that something? And then at my catering business, I have universities. I have Sushi at Rice.
Okay. Yeah, that's your sushi?
Mm-hmm.
I eat it all the time.
Well, thank you. In the Student Center, I think it is. Yeah. Yeah, right. I have at the U of H. I have it at Trinity College at San Antonio. I have it at UT Arlington. I think I have it in Arkansas. I just finished New Mexico. So the universities, the young kids love sushi.
Yeah, definitely.
And so I capitalize on that. So,
wow. So it has just grown over time like crazy.
Yeah, it has, and it's been lucky.
Mm-hmm.
You know. But throughout the Houston, I've been active in the community too. And so, being Asian, I very active in the political aspect of the Asian American community.
Okay.
Trying to get more recognition at City Hall or the state or the county. There's a lot of racial prejudice against Asians, especially in, I would say, corporations and stuff like that. If you look at the Fortune 500 companies here in Houston, there's not very many Asians on the board.
They call it the bamboo ceiling?
They call it the bamboo
I've
ceiling.
heard of that. Yeah.
Right. But I'm optimistic. I always, I have lots of hope, and I love life, and so it's just that the reason I got involved with the community is we need to have more Asian Americans more visible in the mainstream to be able to show that we're all humans and we all love our children.
Mm-hmm.
We're no different, and it's just try to eliminate stereotypes, and that we are or do make a contribution to the community to make a better life for everybody. And so I was involved in many Asian American organizations in town, and contribute a lot to the political candidates here in town also, to have access to politicians, to help Asian Americans if they have problems. So, but it's fun because you meet a lot of nice people.
Definitely.
And so now I'm 62 years old. I still belong. I think I'm on the board of 9 organizations. I think right now.
Okay. What's some of your other community involvement other than the political arena, or is that your main focus?
No, it's not my main focus.
Okay.
At my age, more nonprofits. Asia Society. We're building the Asia House. I don't know if you know about that.
No.
Oh, I'm going to have to turn you on to that. It's going to open up in March next year. It's a $50 million project. It's just down the street here.
Okay.
Next to the Holocaust Museum. I think 2 blocks away from the Holocaust Museum. Okay. It's almost finished.
Wow. So what is that going to be?
It's more of I wouldn't say community center, but we're going to have galleries of art, Asian art. We have a 298-seat theater. We'll have classrooms to educate historians about Asian culture, and also educate Asians about Asian culture. So I'm involved with that. I'm on the board of United Way, and so I've been on that for the past 6 years. Japan American Society, I've been president twice. I started the Japanese Festival. Did you ever go to the Japanese Festival?
I think so.
At Herman Park, next to the Japanese Garden? Oh, I started that 18 years ago.
18 years ago.
Right. And I always promote, I try always, all these years, promote Japanese culture here in Houston. And, of course, I had selfish motives. I mean, if I promote Japanese culture, then maybe they like sushi.
Of course, that makes sense.
But seriously, it's a lot of goodwill I try to promote here in Houston and get people to know Japanese people. What did I say? I made a speech one time. All I want is American people to like Japanese people. I want Japanese people to like American people. That's all.
So you're pretty involved in all these spheres: political, nonprofit, art, culture, Japanese community,
education. But my heart belongs to business, though.
Of course. That's why you haven't stopped yet.
But
and I bet it's still growing, isn't it?
Yes, it is. Yes, it is. I think we're opening 15 more places this year.
Oh, wow. That is just amazing.
But Houston's a great community. I think it's the people and the accessibility of leadership here in town has changed tremendously the past 20 years. 20 years ago, if you read the editorial chronicle, there's no mention of Asians.
Really?
There was only black and white or Hispanic. But today, the Asian Americans are mentioned in the paper much more than it was 20 years ago. So
it's great.
But I believe we're all equal. I don't think there's anything we're all human beings.
Yeah, definitely.
Houston has offered me opportunity to help people, and so that's why I love Houston.
That's great. Going back to the business side, what were some of the challenges that you have faced, just in general?
Well, being in the restaurant business, the hardest thing is cash flow.
Okay.
Because payroll, taxes, bills and stuff like that. So you always have a hard time keeping control of your cash flow. And paying the bills,
Yeah.
and the salaries and stuff like that. I think that was one of the toughest part for me. Always worried.
Yeah. Okay. How did you get the idea to start catering and start sushi bars and all of this stuff? How did you first get the idea?
Wow. I went to Los Angeles, how many years ago, and they opened the first sushi bar in a supermarket in Safeway in Beverly Hills.
Okay.
And by chance, I was there. Not to see the sushi bar, I think I went in to buy something. Mm-hmm. And I looked at this and I saw a sushi bar in a grocery store. And I saw a lot of people around at the time, so that's how I got that idea.
Why don't we have that in Houston?
Right. And so I try to promote it.
Okay. Let me see. I noticed, I was looking at your resume, because you had given it to us, I think, and you have some other businesses too. You have a consulting business?
Yes.
And international trade?
Yes.
And also retail stores in the airport?
Yes.
So tell me a little bit about that.
I'm a consultant for Japanese companies like Toshiba.
Okay.
Being the Japanese restaurant, I knew the president of Toshiba USA because they opened a plant here in Northwest Houston, and in those days we were the only Japanese restaurant, so they all would come over to my restaurant, and so I became friends with the officers of the company and stuff like that, and then I played golf with them and stuff like that, and then they knew that I knew a lot of people here in Houston. And so they asked me one day, the chairman of all Toshiba came from Japan and wanted to meet the mayor.
Okay.
So I arranged that.
Wow.
Yeah. And so I had a meeting with the mayor. I think it was Bob Lanier, I think it was in those days. I don't know if you knew Bob Lanier.
I mean, well, I know the middle school Lanier.
And so from there, they asked me to be a consultant on a retainer basis.
I see.
Right. And I helped them get involved in a United Way. They had 1,000 employees, and so they participate in United Way, helping in the community.
Oh, I see.
And I would time to time introduce them to people at Shell or Exxon or.
When did that first start?
Boy, 80, 90.
Approximation.
80 something,
Okay.
86, 87, I think, 87.
Okay.
My English is good, so that's why I could introduce them to people that I thought were credible. Let's see, and I've had a great relationship with Toshiba. They're a great company.
Okay.
You heard of them?
Yes, of course.
Okay. Well, they have an industrial division here in Houston.
I see.
Not retail, like not the electronics or the consumer goods, but industrial. They make big motors. In fact, they're building a plant here that makes electric motors for the forklifts. It's going to open up, I think, October, and then they're going to start another company. They're going to make the batteries for the electric cars.
Okay.
So it's really high tech, so it's fun for me to be around that.
Yeah.
Being a sushi man, So.
Have you learned a lot about that kind of stuff?
Not
really.
I'm not that smart. It's just too technical for me.
Too technical.
Yeah.
I understand.
But that's how I did that in the consulting business. As far as their retail stores in the airport, it's a government contract.
Okay.
And I was recommended by a city council member to be part of the minority contract, and so that's how I got involved in that. As far as my other business, I have back in just about 8 years ago, we used to trade with China, and I had a small company with partners and a Chinese partner, and we would import stuff from China to help some American factories here in Houston. So I did that. I went to China a couple of times.
Oh, wow.
Mm-hmm.
So, what kind of retail stores are they?
Do you know the gift shops, magazine, newspapers? The management company is Host International, and so they run everything. I'm just basically a silent partner, and we have board meetings 4 times a year.
What is the minority aspect then?
I believe the city contract for the airport for the government, you need 40% participation minorities
On the board?
of the company.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, interesting. So how have you found these other areas to be different from your previous restaurant catering food businesses?
Well, business is business. I mean,
It's pretty similar.
Yes, it's
Okay.
mostly, I guess, common sense. I guess.
And relationships, like, probably.
Well, I guess so. But I'm not an accountant. I'm not a lawyer, so basically, I guess it's honesty and common sense.
Yeah.
Don't let people take advantage of you.
Yeah.
Just be careful. That's all. Just be smart about that.
Yeah. Okay. We can talk a little bit about your family life now. So you've been married for 37 years?
Met my wife in the 5th grade. We're 10 years old.
Yeah. And
I have a son.
When was he born?
He was born in 85,
Okay.
and he's 26 years old.
Okay.
And he's just been accepted to grad school,
Great.
MBA at Ross Business School at the University of Michigan.
Oh, awesome.
And so he lives in New York
Okay.
and has a girlfriend.
Uh-huh.
I don't think they're going to get married. I think he's wants to finish his MBA.
Yeah.
And only one child,
Okay.
and that's my whole life. My wife's whole life is just my son. And, so he's very independent,
Uh-huh.
and I think he is a very smart young man.
Did you try to teach him any aspects of Japanese culture while he was growing up? Or?
Yes and no, but not as much as my parents taught me.
Right.
Not that much,
Okay.
But
Okay.
as he got older, he's shown more interest. When he's
Mm-hmm.
a teenager, no interest.
Does he like Japanese food at least?
Oh yeah, he loves Japanese
Good,
food.
good.
He loves
That's the
Japanese
most important.
food. Right.
Let me just see how we're doing. Oh, we're still fine. Okay, so what are some of the big lessons that you've learned throughout your professional life? I know it's a big question.
What's the big lesson? Treating people with respect. I always try to treat people equally, especially when I used to deliver all the food to the hotels and stuff like that. And so always nice to the people at the dock. I was always nice to the busboy at the hotel. I was nice to the helper in the kitchen. Always nice to the executive chef. And I found that being nice to people with a smile, it was a lot easier. Anytime I delivered, they would help me, or they would bend over backwards to help me and stuff like that. And so I always tell, never burn your bridges. You never know, even young people like you, don't burn bridges. You never know that other person may become president of the United States. You never know. So that's, I think that's a big lesson.
You mentioned we talked about the bamboo ceiling earlier.
Mm-hmm.
What advice would you give to an aspiring Asian businessman or other type of professional?
I think networking.
Okay.
I mean, if you work in a corporate atmosphere, try to make as many friends of your cohorts in that company. Just so you can get support and your notice. And being noticed in a corporation with 30,000 people is very difficult. And Asians are usually very humble and not so much of an extrovert. I hate to stereotype it, but I mean, basically, we're pretty much very humble. And so to excel in a corporation, you have to kind of shine and network and be aggressive. Yeah, I guess aggressive, or in a good way.
In a good way.
In a good way.
Why do you think that Asians are in general more humble?
Look at my mother and father, I guess. They were very humble, talking to American people or stuff like that, very reserved. A lot of the Chinese immigrants or the Japanese immigrants at the beginning, they were very humble, very quiet and stuff like that. They didn't cause too much trouble or anything like that.
Do you think that's like a cultural thing?
It's a cultural thing, absolutely. Absolutely. But we live in America.
So you have to change, yeah.
Yeah, and so I want my son to assimilate and try to climb that corporate ladder and break that bamboo ceiling. Because that's really an obstacle. And there's so many talented Asians right now in corporate world. Smart too, but they get passed over in management.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah. And they're very talented. Young kids, they're talented.
Definitely. Let me see what other areas I wanted to focus on. Well, what are your goals currently, personally or professionally, or whichever way?
What are my goals? Well, I think at my age, and my wife's age, is being healthy and staying healthy. Friendship means a lot to me. Being able to have a friendship is a goal, I guess, to maintain the friends I have. Is important to me. I still want to grow my business. I'm very want to do those things of growing the business. I'm not that old. I think I could work 10 more years or something like that. I like the other thing I'm proud of since I do expanded my business. I'm creating jobs for other families, and so that makes me feel good. The other goal is I do a lot of charity work and community. I will continue to do community affairs here in Houston. I meet a lot of nice people. Most of my best friends come from nonprofits. That's amazing. And you see, being active, and I tell you, you meet a lot of great people.
What are you primarily focusing on now, day to day?
Golf.
Golf.
That's one of my hobbies.
Okay, you're a golfer.
I'm a golfer, and so I have this group of retired people I play with, and we bet money, but that same $10 goes around. So,
okay.
But no. What was your question again? What was my? What do I want to do? What was your question?
Oh no! I said, what are you primarily focusing on right now in your day-to-day life? What are you working on?
I'm still networking.
Yeah.
I still want to meet people,
Yeah.
different types of people, opportunities in business. You want to meet people that can help you. I always try to make it a goal of meeting new business people. I'm talking business now. And so to be able to have access to leadership in the community or business leadership, because I don't know everybody in town. So I enjoy that.
Yeah.
And I will continue to do that.
What kind of settings do you network in, or places, events?
My organizations, like I'm on the board of the Greater Houston Partnership. Do you know what that is?
I've heard of it, but I don't know.
Okay, it's like a Chamber of Commerce.
Okay.
Okay, Houston. I'm on the board of the Convention and Visitors Bureau, which is great networking for me since I'm in the food business. United Way is great because the people on the board are usually presidents of companies, stuff like that. And so it's a chance to be able to know them. So the reason I say that is maybe someone needs a job at Shell or something like that. If I can make a recommendation for a young kid to have access to that, and I can help a lot of people. Not just for myself.
Of course, yeah.
You know.
Of course. One time I learned networking is a two-way street. Like each person has to.
But so that's still my goal, is to be able to know people, and maybe I can help some young kid.
Yeah. Okay. Well, normally I have partners, so it's a little bit easier.
It's
to
okay.
do some questions,
It's okay.
Is there anything that I might have missed asking you about?
Wow.
You wanted to discuss when you came into this interview, that you're thinking you would like to talk about?
Well, really, I'd like to talk to my mother and father, are really the pioneers.
Yeah.
Because be able to open the first Japanese restaurant in Texas and be able to spread Japanese culture here in Texas, I'm very proud of that. It was a very authentic Japanese restaurant here in Houston. We had the tatami rooms. Okay, and then we had straw floors where you have to take off your shoes and sit down and eat. You have to fold your legs, and eat at the Japanese style. And you have to use chopsticks, and then we had Japanese dances nightly, and we had ikebana.
What is that?
The flower arrangement classes.
Okay. Oh yeah, yes.
And
classes in arranging.
Right.
Okay.
Well, my mother didn't do that, but one of these organizations, like Japan American Society, would do that. So we introduced a lot of Japanese culture, and so I'm very proud of my mother and father because being the first Japanese restaurant and a great location, the Galleria area, we exposed a lot of Japanese culture to Houstonians here, longtime Houstonians. And so I'm very proud of my mom and dad. And they worked hard. Well, see, I'm spoiled. Okay, so I go to nice restaurants and stuff like that. They wouldn't hardly do that.
Really?
Because they worked. They just work, and send me to school and buy me things and stuff like that. So they are very proud of my mother and father and what they've done. And so I try to be humble and respect that a lot.
What do you think were some of the biggest challenges in starting the first Japanese restaurant in Texas?
People had no knowledge. They think there was Chinese food. They would come to the restaurant. Do you have chow mein or fried rice or something like that? They would ask Chinese questions. They wouldn't know the difference back in those days. And it's. I guess my mom and dad went through a lot of prejudice, because of the war, and so they had a lot more hardship than I did.
So they were also kind of educating the community.
Yes.
About Japanese culture and food.
And so I continue that.
Yeah. That's great. Yeah. What were some lessons that you learned from your parents? Maybe that you realized later, or that you realized at the time?
My appreciating Japanese culture.
Okay.
From my mother and father. I mean, I'm American, right? So,
Exactly.
yeah, you know, and so, but as a teenager, I thought they were old-fashioned and kind of backwards. And, what's that word? Not with it or hip or whatever. When I was a teenager, you know, and didn't think anything about Japan. I thought Japanese culture was backwards, you know. But as I grew older, I appreciate the beauty of the culture. I mean, it goes back how many thousands of centuries and stuff like that. And so that's one benefit I learned from my mom and dad is appreciate the culture of Japan. You know. But I love America, though.
Of course, that's an important lesson.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And I want young people to be proud of their culture. You know, being proud Asian American. There's nothing to be ashamed of. You know, and so I guess, like I said earlier, you need to be visible in this community and have friendships with people and let them know that you know who you are, and that'll eliminate a lot of stereotypes. So I'm depending on young people like you to continue that.
Okay. That's a big responsibility.
Yeah.
But it's important.
Yeah. So.
Well, anything else?
You're asking me the question, so I don't.
Yeah.
You know, so I apologize.
No.
I
mean, you've done a great job.
Yeah. So.
In being thorough and concise at the same time. So.
I'm friends with Albert and Ann Chow.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I respect them very, very much.
Are you gonna be coming to the dinner?
No, I'm
You're
gonna.
not in town?
I'm not in town.
Oh no.
I have to go to Dallas. In fact, I'm leaving tomorrow, Washington D.C.
Yeah, that's why you couldn't make it tomorrow.
Right.
Obviously.
Right. And so I'm going with a delegation to visit the Capitol.
Okay.
Right.
Okay.
So.
Well, maybe some other time.
But so what happens with this oral interview? Where's it go? Was it the archives or something like that?
Yeah. Should I keep recording?
No, you can finish.
Okay.
Thank you.
Well, thank you very much for
Hope it didn't bore you.
participating in our interview. No, it was not. It was very interesting. So thank you very much for sharing our story with you.
So how's this work? What's going to happen with this?
Do you want to turn it off?
Yeah.